Shalom.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
The insecurity seems to be spread across. I was listening to plenary of the House of Representatives on Thursday, the 31st of March. A member of the House called for the dismissal of the National Security Advisor, Babagana Monguno. He says he's the only service chief that has not been replaced since 2015. Indeed, if all security agencies are accountable to the National Security Advisor, has he not failed? Join me every week on Plus TV Africa and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Good morning, I am Messia Bokpo. This is the news brief. The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, has declared his intention to lead Nigeria amid pomp and prayer. Amaechi made the declaration in Thanksgiving service well attended by party faithfuls and contemporaries. Now the report.
It was a glamorous event as party faithfuls broke into tumultuous jubilation, even as the APC party leader in the zone took the rostrum. The minister, who titled his speech "Forward with Courage," listed his 23 years of public service in different capacities as his full-fledged experience.
Fellow Nigerians, I stand before you today to declare my intention and submit my application to serve as your next president. After more than 2 decades in the public arena, I had wanted to go on holiday and spend more time with my family before charting a new course outside politics. But at 56, because I'm 56 years old, and a member of the generation born after independence, who has seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of Nigeria. I'm compelled by the urgency of our present challenges to place my experience and proven capacity at the service of the nation at the highest level.
Predictably, the crowd cheered to show their support for the man of the moment.
You are the Lord, that is your name. You will never share your glory with anymore. You will never share your glory with anybody. Almighty God, that is your name.
Also in attendance was the Plateau State Governor, Simon Lalong, who congratulated the new APC executives in the state for presenting a united front.
Today the APC government is thriving. When we were told on television that there is no APC in Rivers State, I am sure what we have seen today, many people will not sleep in their houses. Because God is wonderful. Some people will say we want to take it by force. In APC, we will not take it by force. We will consider the grace of God. And that grace of God is the one that is working in Chuboke, Amaechi, Rotary.
The former chairman, Adams Oshomole, also commended the party for standing firm in spite of the strong opposition in the state.
I am particularly excited because we have made effort to unite our great party in Rivers State. And today, I am proud to be here to witness with my own Korokoro eyes the unity of M in Rivers State. May God help us to uphold this unity, to sustain it, to service it, and to dissolve the bitterness in the heart of anyone.
I know this is the beginning of the march for 2023. It starts here. It starts today.
The two-in-one event, which took place at the Adoke and Masameka Stadium, featured prayers for the nation, victims of the recent Cardinal train attack in the APC party.
Wonderful King, the King of Kings.
Earlier, we spoke to Tumba Besmanzi Jumbo, President Team Nigeria for Change, on Amaechi's declaration, and he had this to say.
It is a democracy, and in all honesty, Amaechi is qualified to run for the presidency of Nigeria, Amechi is experienced enough to run, and he has exercised his right as a free Nigerian citizen. Because I like it, because I'm one of those who believe that the presidency after President Muhammad Buhari should come to the south of Nigeria. Truth of the matter is, it is only those who don't love Nigeria, who don't love the unity of this country, that would want power to remain in the north after President Buhari. Because we have a gentleman agreement in the interest of Nigeria for power to rotate between north and south. So Amechi, in the line of that, have exercised his belief in that gentleman agreement that power should come to the south. So if it comes to the south, then the competition will be among southerners, both in APC and in PDP, to present the two presidential candidates for the two dominant parties. So it's not about consolation, it's about the right thing to do.
A coalition of non-indigens residing in Rivers State has said Minister of Transportation Chibike Amechi is more qualified than other presidential aspirants. The group disclosed this at a briefing in Port Harcourt, adding that he is eminently qualified, having a rich experience in government spanning over 20 years.
Having x-ray his qualities, he has a very tall credentials. Most of the things that were moribund in the ministry, today they have come alive.
He's a dogged and fearless fellow. And when you trust him with a position, he do his best. And we are calling him in a strong term, without any hesitation.
He has the capacity. He is capable. Wherever you're looking for him, just be rest assured that you are going to get it 100%. Not just that, employment of teachers was great. I think he employed about 13,000 teachers here in Rivers State.
We have so many reasons why we call him. During his tenure as governor, Rotimi Amechi has built more than 120 clinics in Rivers State and free of charge for everybody, both indigenous and non-indigenous.
To me, I describe him as a David of our own generation.
He did well for everybody, especially we women. Different empowerment for women, for our men, our youth. He did well.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP, Southern governors have insisted that the party should zone its 2023 presidential ticket to the southern part of the country for equity and fairness. The Southern governors of the opposition party expressed their position on the issue of zoning while briefing newsmen after their meeting in Abuja. Abia State Governor Kezie Ekpeazu, speaking on behalf of the governors, said they had watched with keen interest developments in PDP regarding zoning, but they had no reason to change their earlier stand. The federal government had since realized that unless a special educational format was designed for nomads, they wouldn't have access to formal or non-formal education. This was prior to the establishment of nomadic system of education in Nigeria. Children enrollment in nomadic schools are entitled to institutional materials and exposure to modern education. PlusTV News correspondent Stephen Enoch takes a look at the teary situation of nomadic schools in Kano.
33 years after the establishment of nomadic schools in Nigeria, it appears that the purpose for which the nomadic school was established is somewhat frail. A case in point, Sararia Nomadic Education Primary School in Kano, located in Ongongo local government area of the state, about 17 kilometers from Kano metropolis. What greets you is worn-out ceiling boards, meaning when it rains, everyone finds shelter and the learning process is disrupted. In this class, just like several other classes, pupils sit on the floor to study. The children in the class say whenever it rains while teaching is going on, the class is suspended and everyone goes home. They also add that when it rains before resumption hour, they stay back at home. Most of the pupils cannot communicate or comprehend basic instructions in English, even when one of the central mandates for nomadic education is to ensure that pupils are exposed to elementary forms of modern education. This is primary 4, and the pupils don't know the difference between yes and no.
No English.
In this class as well, the students cannot relate to the questions asked.
What is the name of your school? What is the name of your school?
The lack of instructional materials seems to also hamper their learning process. In this decrepit staff room, it is easy to see that the teachers also bear the brunt of the neglect of the school. A community who feels this plight of the school calls on relevant authorities to get to work.
The children in this school are suffering from so many challenges. They do not have instructional materials to aid their learning. They do not have chairs and tables, and their classes are in a deplorable condition, as you can see behind me. If it rains while the children are in class, they are usually sent home because the classes always get filled with water. Most of the parents in this community lack awareness on the importance of education to their children. We are calling on the relevant authorities to look into this.
The absence of a perimeter fencing in this school makes it free to entry and exit by anyone in a time when insecurity is taking its toll on the nation, and Kano is not an exception. Another disturbing situation here is the lack of potable water. A source in the school tells PlusTV News that they have to trek about 500 meters to get water, and whenever students want to ease themselves, they simply do it here. Musa Wada, the coordinator of nomadic education in Kano State, hints that efforts are underway to ensure that schools like Sararia Nomadic Education Primary School is put in good condition.
There are efforts on that direction. There are efforts, especially school improvement programs, projects. Your schools are regularly inspected and monitored on quality control at the local and the state level. And even at zonal level, schools are instructed to see how teachers, how pupils are doing in classrooms.
The irony is that in order to learn basic education, they have to be taught in their mother tongue, as any other language may seem an absolute waste of time.
One of the growing trends which calls for urgent attention in Nigeria today is on the incidents of rape, defilement and child abuse, neglect and maltreatment and the likes. Lagos State government is prepared to tackle the menace head-on through its safeguarding and child protection program. PlusTvAfrica news correspondent Ngozika Ohai-CHE has more in this report.
In recent times, Lagos has recorded terrible incidences of murder and rape of vulnerable young children. The case of Sylvester Romani, allegedly killed by his mates, remains fresh in the minds. Records have it that the state has witnessed about 2,154 cases of abuse against children from the year 2020. In this auditorium are school administrators, principals, and head of schools gathered to discuss and share opinions on how children can be protected from all forms of abuse in schools.
In promoting the welfare of children and protecting them from harm, all organizations will seek to keep children in their custody safe by 1, valuing them, listening to and protecting them, creating an environment to encourage children to develop a positive self-image, encouraging children to develop a sense of independence and autonomy in a way that is appropriate to their age and stage of development, providing a safe and secure environment for all children, sharing information about child protection and good practice with children, parents, staff, and volunteers, sharing concerns with relevant agencies, and involving parents and children appropriately.
These school administrators are ready to hit the ground running by implementing the policies mentioned to protect children against abuse in their schools.
When I get back to my school, I have to call all my colleagues, my teachers, both teaching and non-teaching staff, and explain what I learned here today for them so that they too can adapt it into their day-to-day life so that the life of children will be saved.
I will get all my staff on a training, to educate them more on child safeguarding and protection policy, how to tell them how to protect that all the children that are kept under our care, they are safeguarded and protected.
The facilitator of the program talks tough, warning defaulters of the children's protection policies.
I always beg school administrators to ensure they adopt this policy. You see, you go get away with so many things. If you break the traffic light, for example, where there is no camera, you get away with it. Are there strong laws for breaking rules of breaking the lights, the rules of the traffic light? There are rules, but until you become the victim, you will never know how bitter it could be. We have strong rules against the schools. If a case is reported and the case of child abuse, it is then the school will feel the pinch or the pain of not doing the right thing.
Children, when groomed progressively, are important to a country's human capital. Therefore, their protection from neglect, abuse, exploitation, and violence is an important aspect and should be given priority. Ngozika or HSC, Plus TV News.
In a bid to return out-of-school children to the four walls of schools, the Special Youth Leadership Foundation has put smiles on the faces of 5,000 children in 5 years. The foundation, initiated by Mr. Dani and Sheyi Akinwale, was officially launched in Lagos. Our correspondent, Paul George, reports that the foundation hopes to reach 100,000 children in Nigeria and other African nations by 2030.
It's an evening of joy and to reflect on the journey and project for the future on how to increase the number of beneficiaries of the Special Youth Leadership Foundation, an initiative founded by Mr. and Mrs. Dami and Sheyi Akinwale. In the hall are predominantly young men and women in corporate organizations who are donors, parents, guardians of beneficiaries, the beneficiaries, friends, and families. The founder and his wife take the audience through journey.
The Special Youth Leadership Foundation is an NGO that is registered to ensure that we can provide our impact work in a very sustainable and pragmatic way that is also scalable to ensure that we can reach out to more children across the continent of Africa. We, out of our monthly earnings and the small businesses we've started, have put together, we always set aside funds to try to be a solution to the problem we find in the continent of Africa.
The Special Youth Leadership Foundation started probably when my husband was in his teenage years. He's always had the passion to send people who couldn't afford to go to school and fund their schooling, really. The major reason for the backing of the education is that there are over 15 million children in Nigeria alone who are out of school, and that's a big number. If you think about the opportunities those kids are going to have, if they continue in the line they are in, it's not going to be a lot. A lot of them will end up becoming miscreants, criminals, not because they don't have a choice. They really don't have a choice. That's what the country has had to offer them. And so the foundation is really to try and give them another alternative, a better opportunity, a better way of life, if possible, and just give them a chance in life.
Watching from the screen in the hall, President Olusegun Obasanjo advises the youth to make a positive difference.
And what you are doing is you are making youth to become part of the solution of youth problem and national problem. Because youth unemployment, youth underemployment, youth acquisition of education and skill problems of youth and part of the national problem in this country.
I'm happy to say to you today that in the last 5 years, we've been able to send close to 5,000 kids through school, to school in one way or the other. But that's not phenomenal work when we put the context of what we have to do. We've set an achievable ambition for ourselves to get 100,000 kids in school by 2030. Sounds like a large number, but with the resources that have been available to us in such a short time, we've seen what we've done with 5,000.
The high point of the event is the presentation of awards to volunteers, donors, corporate organizations, and ambassadors. Paul George, PlusTV News.
As power supply continues to get worse, Nigerians speak out in anger, and that's on Street Views. Take a listen.
I burn generator from almost on daily basis. I mean, by the time I calculate the money I spend for fuel on daily basis, and I honestly tell myself the truth that this power issue is something else. It's really dealing with us Nigerians.
This thing is affecting so many companies. My daughter has a company. I know how many fuel we run every day. People that cannot afford such, they end up packing up and going to other countries. Can I say in a month we'll have like 3 times? Is that power supply? So every day I burn fuel. Every day I buy fuel 2,000 in my house. It's very ridiculous.
We are being cheated. There is no light. I live at Ikoyi. They don't give us light. Like 3 times a week, and it's about 2 to 3 hours, and it's gone. There is money in this country, but we don't know where the money is going to. No water, no light, no good roads. What can we do?
It's affecting me. It's affecting me. See me as I'm sweating. If I bath finish like this, I begin sweating. In the evening, sweating. Midnight, sweating. All my children, they are sick now. No lights, and they are still bring the bill. Where is the money? And now, the bill is high. What are we using? Fan, television. So it's finished. I'm fit. I'm not using the oven. I'm not using washing machine. And they are bringing crazy bill. For what? And no light. We are suffering from this Nigeria.
There is no light in my area. No single light. But we are paying for light, but we never see light. Sometimes, once in 2 weeks. Sometimes you will not even see it.
And to other parts of Africa, 9 pastoralists were killed and several others injured during an attack by cattle rustlers in the northern Kenya country of Isiolo. According to police and eyewitness accounts, the bandits killed the herders during a midday on Friday and later drove a large herd of cattle, even as an elite security unit intensified crackdown on criminals. And outside Africa, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today in Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. A still photograph published on social media by the Embassy of Ukraine to the United Kingdom showed the 2 men meeting over a table with microphones between them and their national flags in the background. Johnson met Zelensky in a show of solidarity with the Ukrainian people, a Downing Street spokesperson said.
I want to begin, Volodymyr, by saluting once again the bravery of the people of Ukraine in defying the appalling aggression that we have seen. In the last few weeks, the world has found new heroes, and those heroes are the people of Ukraine. When I was here just a few weeks ago, and we were in another room, I think in your palace, the defense intelligence that we had suggested that the Russians believed that Ukraine could be engulfed in a matter of days and that Kiev would fall in hours to their armies, and how wrong they were. And I think that the Ukrainians have shown the courage of a lion, but you, Volodymyr, have given the roar of that lion.
Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan has been ousted from power after losing no confidence vote in his leadership. The vote was held past midnight after opposing parties brought a motion against him following days of drama. The motion was first brought against Imran Khan last week, but he blocked it by dissolving parliament. Sunday's vote took place after the country's Supreme Court ruled in favor of opposition party that said that Imran Khan had acted unconstitutionally. Imran Khan is now the first Pakistan Prime Minister to be ousted by no confidence vote. Pakistan's parliament will meet to vote for the country's new leader on Monday. And in business news, the process of restoring power supply and outgoing following the national grid collapse at 6:30 p.m. yesterday, the Minister of Power, Mr. Abubakar Aliyu, gave the assurance today. He noted that some sections of the national grid had been energized already and supply restored to consumers. Will Smith has reacted to the Academy's decision to ban him from events for a decade. Recall that the Academy of Motion Pictures, Art and Sciences announced on Friday, April the 8th, that Will Smith has been banned from all organization events for 10 years for slapping Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars. Will Smith will, however, keep the Oscar he won this year for his role in King Richard. Responding to this in a brief statement to the Page 6 on Friday, the actor said, "I accept and respect the Academy's decision." Last week, Smith announced he was resigning from the Academy, meaning he would not vote but will still be able to be nominated and attend the awards show. And in sport, Charles Leclerc took a dominant victory in Australian Grand Prix to move into commanding position in the World Championship. The Ferrari driver was in a total control of the race when his main rival, Max Verstappen, retired with the technical failure on his Red Bull at two-third distance. Verstappen at 46 points almost clear wins behind Leclerc after just 3 races of the season, in 2 which the Red Bull has failed to finish. The Red Bull Sergio Perez was second after winning battles with Mercedes driving George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. Many thanks for watching. I am Messi Bopo. There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
Hello and thanks for joining us. It's a brand new edition of the program. Today with John and Helen. As always, we are promoting stability, growth and unity in the family. That's always the interest of this show. And I'm Helen Oma Odele. Always a pleasure to be on the show with you this morning.
Helen Oma Odele.
Oma, not Oma.
Oma. Okay. Well, sometime last week, we observed World Autism Awareness Day. And today we intend to use the program to bring information and create awareness about people, especially children living with autism. I am John Senaya. I welcome you to what promises to be an exciting conversation.
Now, do you know that 1 in every 100 children suffers from this disorder? While some people with autism can live independently, many have severe disabilities and require lifelong care and support from family and society at large.
Yes, that's autism spectrum disorder, which is a complex developmental disorder, causes problems of maybe thinking, feeling, language, mobility, the ability even to relate with others, which is our focus today. After the break, we will meet our guests, Doinsola Jarandu Adibome, a specialist in this field. Please stay with us.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Okay, it's the first weekend in April and we join the rest of the world to mark World Autism Day. If you just tuned in, this is Today with John and Helen on PlusTvAfrica, and you are welcome. Besides learning about autism from our guests, the other segments of the program, as you know, will be served to you hot and exciting.
As always.
As always, yes.
But is it the first weekend?
It is.
Is it? I think you've lost count.
Today is 9th.
Well, anyhow, so much has happened.
Yeah, because we were not here last week. Oh,
so much has happened, since we were here, and now at least we need to catch up quickly on some events during the week. I won't even go as far as during the week.
This morning.
Last night.
Okay.
The national grid, electricity supply, I hear is down again. Second time in 4 weeks. What's going on? What is going on?
What is going on?
I think we need to get better explanation on this, because it's not something we just brush aside.
a whole nation, Nigeria, the national electricity grid goes down twice, and we're not hearing that heads have rolled.
Yeah.
Helen.
Well, if that is the direction you're going, because better explanation we got the first time, the second time. But except that heads haven't rolled. And probably that's why we're back here.
I don't know what to say, but all I know is that a lot of people are suffering.
True.
And
Very true.
Something has to give.
Very true. Because power is extremely important.
Enough of this. There's no point, dancing around. People don't enjoy it. I don't know about you.
Nobody enjoys to be put in darkness. Nobody enjoys because there's so many things that are tied to electricity, to power supply. And when the power is not there, a lot of things are wrong.
Yeah. What was the other thing you wanted to talk about?
Unfortunately, a lot of things are wrong. It's not only power. Last week, I had an opportunity to go to First Act Town. You won't believe it. I missed my way. I was almost at the trade fair complex before I had to talk. Well, someone would say, use your Google Map. Sometimes Google Map will fail you because the express road keeps just taking you, up the bridge, and you're going, and then before you know it, you are way past where you're supposed to.
Sightseeing for you.
And then I started asking, and then I had to be diverted under the bridge that was a makeshift route and very dangerous. It was like going under the bridge with mechanic workshop and everything. And I asked myself, what does it take to just put some direction? Signages. The road is being worked upon. So let's have some just signposts directing us to what's happening and where we need to go. Yeah. If there was a new person in Lagos, I've lived in Lagos for so long. So if I can go through that.
Helen, we expect you to use your intuition.
God have mercy.
Well,
and finally, before we jump into our main topic today, so many people are crying. You are still able to use your telephone, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Because of
Because I did what I had to do when I did it.
There's a lot of confusion right now.
A lot of people didn't do what they should have done, and they're suffering for it now.
And they're saying that the notice was absolutely short.
The notice wasn't short.
Dangerously short.
Helen, the truth is that the notice was not short. We all have been sensitized, advised, notified about doing all these things many years.
Okay.
And we refused to do it.
And as many as 72 million subscribers are going back and forth.
Because we don't do what we are supposed to do when we should do it.
Until the last minute.
I personally, I'm sorry, but I have no sympathy. Because we all should have done this thing long ago.
All right, so a lot of us haven't done that, and we are in this.
I hope some people will have my head for
that. In this problem. So please, can we appeal for a little time? All right, maybe maybe if we stretch this a little while, so that the confusion at the NIN offices and the various registration centers, will be bearable.
It's interesting.
So many people are losing money.
It's interesting being
businesses online are shut down.
It is interesting being Nigeria. Helen, in May 2014, the 67th World Health Assembly adopted a resolution providing legal backing actually for comprehensive and coordinated efforts for the management of autism spectrum disorder. This was supported by more than 60 countries.
And so to spread the word and to be the voice for those voiceless people living with this disorder, we have decided to dedicate today's edition of the program to talking and learning more about it. And to help us with facts, figures, and other information is an autism spectrum disorder specialist. And she's here with us in the studio.
Yes, our guest is dedicated to promoting the inclusion of people with special needs. She's a trainer of teachers, caregivers, and parents on how to give care to sufferers. Our guest works with individuals and organizations to dismantle undesirable behaviors, install healthy ones, uphold development, and mental health for us, for all. She stands tall as an applied behavioral analyst and certified autism specialist. Welcome with us to the program, Doinsola Jawandu Adebowenyi. You're welcome, madam.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having
and
me.
We dragged you out
nice
of
to
bed
have
this
you.
morning.
Well, it's all good cause.
It's all for the people.
You survived the rain.
I did.
Good.
Okay.
Yes.
So people always resort to stereotypes due to their lack of understanding of autism spectrum disorder. What does it feel like being there, being someone who is crusading, for everything that is about this disorder?
All right. Thank you so much. Autism, like they say, is a faceless disorder. You can't tell.
Faceless.
It's faceless. You can't tell a person who is living with this disorder simply by looking at them, because it doesn't show on the face. It's not like the Down syndrome that has the look. There's usually or cerebral palsy that you can tell simply by looking at them. For autism, you really can't tell, and we've done that several times. Have pictures of children in an inclusive setting, and we put it out there and say, identify those who have autism. You can't tell from a picture, but you can tell from a video.
Okay.
That thing that shows the motion, you can tell, because it's usually more in what they do than in how they look. And yes, we still have that stereotype there where almost every child that's evolving is labeled as having autism by other people simply because they're doing one thing or the other. Perhaps because they're running around, or they're not listening when the adult is speaking or when another child is speaking. But that usually is not enough to label them with autism. There's specific things that help identify a person living with autism. And there are three basic things, really. One is they have challenges with making eye contact and with communicating with people. They have challenges sometimes with speech. So they're unable to communicate appropriately. Sometimes they don't have words. Other times they don't use the words in sentences. So there's a problem with the communication. There's a problem with joint attention. So if I have a child, if I was here with autism, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I probably would not pay attention to it, except if it's one of my pet peeves. Then I would almost be fixated on it. So social interaction is also another one. So there's communication, there's social interaction. And then the third is they tend to have certain acts, behavior that they do repeatedly. It could be spinning around, it could be flapping their fingers, it could be looking out of the side of their eyes, it could be lining things up. They tend to do that a lot. It could be lining little cars up or models, those little toy soldiers, or even shoes or bags. So they like to have things in a specific way. Sometimes they're fixated on the door being shut all the time. So it doesn't matter how far they are from the door, they stand up to shut the door whenever a door is open. Sometimes it's with flicking switches. So they go into an environment, and under 20 minutes of being in a big space, they've already identified where all the switches are, because that for them is a major thing. They get a lot of input from that, so they do it a lot. And most of the things they tend to do are things that in our own setting as Nigerians, Africans, are unacceptable, really. Okay. So a child comes into the environment and comes and touches you, picks your bag, do all of that. In the Western world, sometimes they don't have too much of a problem with that. But here, they're really big deals where you don't, you have to listen when the person is talking to you as a child. You have to sit still. I have to just look at you. But our children, because they do not have those skills, because in their development, they tend to be in a space of their own, so they tend not to learn by immersion the way every other person would learn. So that really, you need the communication challenge, you need the joint attention challenge, and you need some of those repetitive behavior. All three have to be in place for you to diagnose a person as autism, living with autism.
This is such a broad spectrum.
Yes. It is a very broad spectrum.
Very broad spectrum.
Because where you have some who are at the high end, where they have major challenges with communication, with interaction, we also have those on the lower end that have the low-level autism. Those are usually very, very intelligent people, and they fall in the category called the Asperger's. Okay. And so what they do, if you don't know the basic signs for autism, you would have a challenge identifying them as people with autism.
We'll come to that, you know, because I teach body language as part of what I do. And I see this as an advanced state of communication. You know, you're speaking without words, you know, so you have to understand the language. Right. You know, I know that we will not be able to exhaustively treat this spectrum and all of that, you know, in 30 minutes or 1 hour, you know, but it's something of huge interest, you know, for some of us. Now, autistic people zone out of impulses we hear, you know, in different ways. I think it's called masking. Okay, you want to tell us a bit about this masking?
Okay, autism as it were on its own, it's from a word that says self, alone.
Okay.
And autism is a neurological disorder that causes there to be a break somewhere in the transmission of information from the stimulus to the brain and then back. So where that happens, one of the things that is significant with people living with autism is that they tend to be in a world of their own. And being in the world of their own, talking about body language, you know, body language is a learned thing at the end of the day. It's determined by what environment you have been in for a while, because you pick it simply by being in that environment. Because they are into themselves, because they zone out very, very often. They tend not to identify what would be the ideal way the people in that environment to say no, by simply shaking their head. So they don't identify that. So they tend not to do it. So with them, the body language communication is most likely not going to pass the test, because they're not looking anyway. So we need to, those are concepts that they need to learn. Yes. And that's part of where the therapy comes in at the end of the day. But they're usually on their own, they zone out, and they prefer to be there. Because I usually say to parents, I don't know if this is a fact, but I usually say to parents that, so you have 3 children, and one of them is living with autism, and the other 2 are typical. So I, who is living with autism, when I feel like, when I wish to come out, I see that when my sibling has done something inappropriate, they get scolded. But I don't have to say anything. All I have to do is go, and I get everything. Why should I come out and do anything with you? I'd rather just be in there where I keep getting the majestic treatment and all of that. But that's not, there's no theory that says that, but that's just me putting that out there. But they're more into themselves, and they tend not to engage with people. They tend not to show that they see what's happening in the environment sometimes. And so they tend not to do what they're expected to do.
They remain in their bubble.
For you to work with them, for you to get them to live a functional life, you need to teach them all of these things that from where they should have started. So you don't work with a person with autism and say, okay, this is a 4-year-old, so I'm going to teach you how to say good morning. It doesn't usually work that way. Before you teach me how to say good morning, you have to get me to look, to identify. You have to get me to learn the language. You know, I start off by saying g, and then that's beautiful, well done. Then after a while, I as a therapist would insist on you saying more than g. So now I want to hear goo. So when you give me goo, I'm like, super, you've done really well. And then I move on again, and then I now start asking for good. Meanwhile, where we're going is, good morning. How are you today, John? But we will start off the little bits, and then we'll piece it all together until we get to the bigger thing. So that's where the therapy comes in. That's what the therapy does for it, because at the end of the day, there's no cure to autism, really. It's a lifelong thing, but it can be managed. The concepts that they have not learned at all in their years of before the therapy can be taught to them in little bites. It's called chunking down. So we chunk it down and then we give it to them on a regular, and it's repetitive and it's continuous, and we build up as we go along the line and they learn it. Now, you and I would, someone says good morning to us, would automatically respond, good morning, you know, not because we were really great, but because we've done it over time. At the beginning, we learned that that was meant to be the response. We gave it, we got good feedback that made us happy, so we did more of it. So now we've done it over and over and over and over again, so it's now permeated the whole of us. It has now become a habit.
Yes.
So we do the same thing with them, introduce to them in little bites until we encapsulate the whole thing, and we do it repetitively, so it becomes a habit to them, and then they do it spontaneously. So that begins to mask the autism, the behavior that they initially did not have, that we're trying to build.
Yes.
And then, but there's one part of it that usually never goes away, and that is the repetitive behavior. It doesn't go away totally, but it changes. So today I could be flapping my fingers, and then if you taught me how to modify it, because this is not socially acceptable, so you help me understand that, oh, if you go out there, it doesn't matter how smart you are and everything, if you did this, people would distance themselves from you. So you could teach me to, instead of do this, I could just do this every now and then, you know, and then as time goes on, I could transfer it and then, you know, just continue to change the things that I do until I find one that works for me and that is socially acceptable.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. And you know, as you talk about this, what's going on in my mind is this is serious.
It is.
And from statistics and research, there are loads of people, young and old, who are going through or who are in this place. And I don't know how aware the environment is of them. And you also mentioned earlier on there's an emotional, you know, thing, that the expression for them is more emotional than it is physical, you know. So, why is this emotional thing, you know, so important for some of us who are individuals and for caregivers, you know, to understand?
All right. I would say that it's really important for us as people on the outside to understand, because inability to understand the people living with autism, to connect with them, to help them evolve, develop their skills and evolve, is a major loss to the world and definitely to Nigeria, because these group of people tend to be people who, once they learn a skill, once they're able to acquire it, they deliver excellence. And not just once, but because they do what they have learned over and over and over again, they tend to deliver a certain level of excellence repeatedly every time they did it. There are people who are creative, that once you're able to identify who they are, what they like to do, how they function, and you plug in certain gaps, you would get different versions of things. So they are actually, they would serve as great models once we're able to tap into their skills, and they would be there for the world to learn from. So we need to learn. We are the ones who need to upgrade ourselves so that we're able to communicate with them, connect with them, and to teach them so that they're able to do. Now, having said that, it is really important, because inability to understand who they are, to identify that they are able, they are not disabled, they're just different, really. So for us to understand that they are able to do whatever it is that they can do, and that we want them to do to a certain extent, we will have them remain in their world, and really, them being in their world, not learning the skills that they need to socialize, is a time bomb waiting to happen. So they will grow. A child living with autism, if left unaddressed, is going to grow up into an adult living with autism. If you have a young child living with autism, the really active ones amongst them, you would need to be on your toes. You would move. You would run. You would try to catch a lot of things that they're throwing up. And that is a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. Imagine when you have to do that with a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 17-year-old. And they will evolve. It's a matter of time. There's nothing anybody can do about that. So it's really important for us to learn how to work with them. And it's more important for us to learn to work with them appropriately. Because like I said, what they do, they continue to produce. So if we have had someone administer a certain learning to them that is not appropriate, that's not wholesome, that is not ecological, then we would have an individual, a child living with autism today, evolve into someone who has learned to do what is not wholesome, what is not ecological. And that is not safe for any environment at all.
Now, something just raced through my mind. You know, I know that in the past we may have wrongly tagged autism sufferers. Can I call them sufferers?
Well,
autism
people living with autism.
People living with autism.
Right.
Tagged them wrongly. Sometimes you say, "Oh, it's this one or this that." Do we have any figures as to, for Nigeria, what the population will be?
Well, unfortunately, we do not have figures because I think we don't. Organizations are just beginning to come together to carry out the research to put it together because, again, you know, by virtue of the labels, the tags that people had given to people living with autism, spiritual tags. Oh, the mother was a prostitute, that's why she had this child, she was cursed. Oh, that one stole, oh, that one did not do this, or that one was a nasty mother, she was a useless mother, she wasn't there for the child. There's that thing they call the refrigerator baby concept of a mother who did not attend to the child as a baby, so the child did not get the warmth and the love, so the child grew up with autism. There are many different versions out there. In Africa, there was a conference that we attended in Ghana. It was a West African Autism Association, and even then we didn't have figures. Even now we still don't really have the figures, but we found out that in different places there was a uniformity. People living with autism disorder or any other such neurological or physical disorders were cursed and they only needed to be killed. So those who were bold enough, the families that were bold enough, gave them up for killing. Some actually did it themselves, and others that were not bold enough, that knew that this person is a part of us, just simply locked them behind closed doors.
You know what?
That must be something that's happening.
We will lock those thoughts there for now, because we need to go on a break.
Yes, we need to go.
We'll take a break now, and we'll be back shortly. Don't go away.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
So the program is today with John and Helen, and we join others to mark World Autism Day, helping you understand better what the condition is all about and the challenges facing sufferers. Is a specialist who is here with us, doing solar. Ki Po Mei. Jawando Akimoe. Yeah?
Adebomehi.
Adebomehi.
Jawando Adebomehi.
Yeah. But I think I tried. I did
Oh, you
well.
did? You got the pronunciation.
How can you be trying? You're a
both names well.
You're a broadcaster. How can you be trying?
So yeah, welcome again.
Thank
welcome
you very
to
much.
the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So much has been said about this condition. And the last statement you made, I want to believe that that is not what is obtainable now.
I think it's so much better because I spoke to about 3 parents. We had a parents meetup recently, just last weekend, and 2 parents did mention that it appears that there's so many people now living with autism out there. And one of them said, while she was discussing that with another person, that the person said, you know, the reality is that people are actually just catching on to understand that it is not a sin, it's not something to be killed for, and so they're actually allowing them out. So they have been there, and it has existed from time immemorial. At least, I don't know how far back, but my immediate younger brother, he would have been 46, 47 now. He passed on about 3 years ago. He lived with autism until he passed on, you know? And so I know, my family knows that autism has existed for over 40 years. Yeah. Even though we didn't know what it was, you know.
So some people believe or fear that vaccines put their children at risk of autism. Is there a fact, any truth in this?
There's no fact. I think the studies will just continue to go on because it's been debunked a number of times. But what it is, there really is a, like they say, there's no smoke without fire, you know, sometimes, is that the age at which the autism in a child begins to emerge, to show, is the age at which they take those vaccines that are in question. So even if a child did not take the vaccination, they just needed anything to trigger it up because the traits would have been inherent. The disorder is not there at the beginning. It comes out because you find that there are children who grow just like their typical peers. And then they get to a point and the sound, the speeches that they had started to make, the mama, dada, mommy, give me, everything begins to diminish until they lose all the words. Some of them would have actually started to make sentences, you know, engaging properly, and they find out that the eye contact begins to go away, the speech begins to reduce, gets to phrases, short phrases, goes to single words, and then it totally stops. So anything can trigger it off. Some of the things that have been said to trigger it off have been traumas, you know, and sometimes it's not just the negative trauma. It's not, oh, I hit my head. Sometimes it's just so much excitement, you know, sometimes has been known to also trigger it off, and then they go there. So the tip, I mean, share the tip is to pay closer attention to our children and to identify when something begins to change so that we can nip it in the bud. And while the age that autism usually comes out or shows is usually about a year to maybe about 4 or 5 years, there have been cases that the autism emerged at 13 years. Yes. So these things are there, and we're just finding out a lot more about it. There's a lot more information out there in the West because, I mean, they embraced it a long while ago, so they see a lot more.
Information.
So information. So it's coming on, and now organizations are beginning to try to get information in order for us to know exactly what it is we're dealing with and know how to address it better, and also to help the government make policies that are, you know, binding and that would help us help the people living with autism evolve. And once there's a lot of necessary attention to the disorder, then many other disorders would also get what it is that they need to get, because each of these people living with these disorders can live a functional life.
You appear to be such a knowledge
you introduce
knowledge bank
who is a specialist
on autism.
In this. Yes.
Now I want to imagine that a lot of people, you know, will scramble here and there for education, for knowledge. What would you where would you advise
that they
us
go
to look for education on autism?
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
All right. So there are a number of centers that, because at the end of the day, the government is not really able to do much about it yet, so individuals are taking it up. So there are special needs centers who have been advocating for a while and are now beginning to also train and all of that. So the Learning Place Center is one. Patrick Speech Center in Ikeja is another one. And there are very many others like that. At the same time, there are also parents or people living with autism who have come together, you know, to help parents understand what autism is, how to deal with it at home. Because I work at a center, your child comes to center, at the most, your child would have like the extended autism therapy in a week. For you to say my child is getting therapy that makes sense, it has to be a minimum of 20 hours, right?
In a week?
In a week, yes. Minimum of 20 hours. So a minimum of 20 hours. Sometimes we have those who do the extensive, so they take 40 hours. So even if your child is getting 40 hours in a week and comes to my center where I work, the child is going to be there for a maximum of 8 hours. They still have 16 hours of which they'll probably sleep for another 8 hours. So 8 hours go to the parents. So the parents also need to know what it's about, to understand it, and to be equipped to deal with it so that the child continues to get intervention everywhere they go. So the parents, there's a group that API, that's Autism Parent, no, it's PI, Parents Against Autism Initiative. So they also have sessions getting parents together, informing them on what it is, taking questions, equipping them, and also providing the comfort and sometimes the tools for them to work with.
Wow,
So
there's a lot.
there are lots of other centers, and schools as well are beginning to embrace it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot more schools are more inclusive now, and Lagos State really has been trying along that path as well.
It's good,
I think they have about at least 13 inclusive schools in different parts of Lagos where a child with autism or any other disorder goes to, and then they get their needs met. It's evolving as well, and one of such is the Maryland School, where the school that I work with has actually adopted that school, and so we work with the government. And we also do a CSR where we train the specialists in the Lagos State schools. One of such is coming up this week, and it's holding at the Maryland School as well. So there's quite a lot that's happening.
Going on, yes.
Individuals are working, professionals are working, parents are working, and government is beginning to get on board. I know that Lagos State government has been trying, but the federal government still has a long way to go.
Yeah. Okay, when you were talking about the traits and how we can identify children or people who probably are in this category, you talked about the need for them, that they are more attentive to some things that, you know, can I use the word ordinary people, that a lot of us, typical people would not like music, like turning off the lights and all of that. What is it about? What
they have,
very quickly.
One of the things, again, that has been identified with them is they tend to have sensory processing disorders. Okay. So for them, the senses are heightened in certain parts. Certain parts of the senses are heightened, such that I don't know where the toilet is here, but if a person living with autism was here and that was their own challenge, if they flush that toilet perhaps two buildings away, they would hear it. And so those are some of the things that trigger them off, and they begin, you know, to get flustered. And then people say, oh, these people, they're just aggressive, they just begin to shout. There's always a reason. We are not privy to the reasons why they do it, but there's always a reason. So what we as professionals do, what we have been trained to do, is to identify the reason, that thing that child did. What is the function? What was he trying to do? Now, what could have happened that he was trying to avoid or to get more of? And then that's now what helps us identify the kind of, this is now ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which says that there has to be a reward for you to engage anybody, really. But that part has been zeroed down to people living with special needs and autism. And so what that means is, so I find a child who just continues to jump or to push other children or to bump into them. And I observe him collect data, analyze the data. he does it at this time of the day more, he does it more with this kind of people and everything. I try to identify what could be the motivation. There could be many reasons. It could be that he's wanting to play with them. It could be that that shirt that person likes, the person likes stripes, the child is
to that.
reacting to it. They could be attracted to it. They could find it very, very revolting.
Repulsive.
You know. So once we identify what that is, we now begin to get that person to tweak a bit or to tweak something around it, and also to encourage the child living with autism to, when they try to do a little bit of what I want them to do, then they get a bit of reward. The reward is anything that they like to do.
Interesting.
Administered to them in little quantities for little times, but they are not really able to identify that. Oh, I just got, for instance, when we're working with them, you could have a slice of, you know, those small Ritz biscuits, and then because we're not trying to feed them fat really, we're just trying to get them at a level where they're happy and they'll attend better. We could break one of those little cublet Ritz biscuits into 10 bits, where we have to pick it up with a little teaspoon, you know. But to them, when you give it to them, they have the notion, because they've seen the biscuit in there, and they have the notion, well, I'm having this biscuit, so they take it, and then we do a little bit more work, and then you give them a little bit. So they are in that position, they're in that state of mind where they're happy, they're looking forward to the next one, so they're looking at you, so they're doing what you want them to do, not because they like it or they like you, but because they want a little bit more of that. So I give you a little bit more, you give me a little more, and then I give, so it goes that way.
Wow.
But we don't give the same quantity every time, because so now every 2 times that you give back to me what I want you to give, then you get a reward. Then every 3 times and it spaces up that way. So that's
Wow,
how we do it.
we said it earlier.
Time
that,
is out, completely out.
We never have enough time for.
But what this says to me is that we need a lot more people who are well informed and educated about this syndrome than we have.
We do.
You know, we do. And we just like to thank you at this point.
Thank you so much.
You've been so helpful. I have learnt a lot this morning. And thank you for coming. Thank you very much. On the show.
Well, I'll thank you by attempting to call your name properly. Doinsola Jawandu Adibomei.
Got it right.
Thank you so much for coming.
You've been practicing it. Okay.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yes, so I think it should be the fitness segment now.
Yeah. We have learned so much on this segment so far. Let's jump into the fitness segment, and after that, you know that Pharaoh will be here with her guest to talk about something equally interesting. So let's join Dolly, I believe, in the gym.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
welcome to another fitness section with us at Alpha Fitness Studios. My name is Dolly Phillips and this is Elvis Echo, and we're going to be taking you through a HIIT workout today. So today we're going to work for 20 seconds and rest for 10 seconds. I have my timer here with us. So before we start, let's start with a quick warm-up. Everybody hands up, deep breath in. Shoulder rolls back, hands on the shoulders, rotate. 1. Opposite direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's reach over. 1. 3, 2, and 1. Now let's roll downwards. Release those hamstrings. 2. Very good. Nice and slow. 3. Good job. 4 and 5. Knees up. Let's go touch those knees. Wake those abs up. 1 and 2 and very good. 3 and 4 and 5. Hip circles. We're rotating. 5 to the left. Let's go. 5. Reverse direction. Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shake it out, shake it out. Are you ready for this workout, Elvis? We're ready. Okay, so I have my timer here. We're going to start the timer. The very first workout is your flutter kicks. So once you hear the whistle, we start. Once you hear the next whistle, you stop to rest. Are you ready? Let's go. If you can't kick this out like this, just kick out like this for me. Yes? We have levels. Come on, let's go. 2 and 1 and rest it. Okay, the next workout, high knees. So we're going to jog on the spot with our knees coming up high. Are you ready? In 3, 2, 1, let's go. If you can't, this is enough for me. Just make sure you continue moving. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Rest it. That was good, huh? Next one, squat, leg over. Take those legs as high as possible. Are you ready? Let's go. And 1. Wow! Do you feel that one? Now we're going down to the floor. Hands down. Send your legs back. Let's go, Elvis. Mountain climbers. Let's go. Push it. If you can't do this, you can just stay in plank or stay in all fours and pick up your knees. And rest it. We're still on the floor. We're going to do a plank on the elbows. Okay, Elvis and I are going to turn to the side so you can see what we're doing. Elbows down and out. Don't collapse your back. No. Lift it up. Tuck in your pelvis and breathe. We have 10 seconds left. Woo! You can feel this one, huh? Make sure your elbows are directly under your shoulders and keep your face looking forward. Don't look down, look forward. Helps to straighten out your back. How are we doing? We have 3 seconds left. 2 and 1. Good job. Stretch it out. And now we're going to go into a sprint. Are you ready? In 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Sprint. Come on, go, 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 go. Faster. 2, 1, and relax. Impossible. Anyway, so let's stretch it out now. We've come to the end of this one. And out. Good job. In and out. In and out. One more and out. Shoulder rolls back. Shoulder rolls. Good. 3 more. 2 and 1. Rotate forward. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's stretch those quads. Hold on to something if you need to. If you don't need to, find your balance. Stretch those quads. Quads are these muscles here in the front of your thighs. Very good. You need to work these muscles. As we get older, they're the first set of muscles to give way. So always make sure you work your muscle, your quads. All right? Good job. And down. Let's stretch our back. Slide down those thighs all the way down. Fingertips on the floor. Straight legs. Stretch out your lower lumbar region. Very good. Oh, this feels so good. It stretches the back of the legs as well, the hamstrings. Bend your knees and slowly roll up. Ah, yes. Deep breath in. Open those legs all the way down and up. All the way down one more time. And out. One more. And out. Awesome. Elbow, elbow, elbow. Thanks for joining us today. We hope to see you very soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
This medal has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
We now start hearing the shoot of guns.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
Because without clarity on who we are and what we are created for, we'll just keep going around in circles without any clear direction for our lives. But there's another big question we need to answer, which is how to align our identity with our purpose. Once you've figured out what your identity is and what your purpose is, you then need to figure out how to make sure that the two align. And with me today is my guest, Mitch Straw, who will be talking to us about aligning your identity with your purpose. Mitch is a singer-songwriter, artist, and entrepreneur with a growing catalog of over 30 released tracks and 5 albums and collage collection EPs that include collaborations with various industry producers and DJs. His tracks have been played in radio stations across Nigeria and streamed numerous times on international platforms, with majority listenership in the UK, Canada, Nigeria, and the US. Welcome, Mitch! Excited
that intro was intense. I was like, is it me?
Yeah.
Could it be me?
Yes, it is.
Thank you for having me.
So, first thing first. Who are you in terms of your identity? What is your identity?
All right, where do you want me to go? Should I go worldly way?
Any way you like.
All right, okay. I'll go the way I subscribe. All right, so I believe my identity is based on a creator who created me and his identity.
Okay.
So that's from there, every other thing comes.
I see.
And how I align myself. But otherwise, if I went the worldly way, which I've probably thought of in the past, I would have just been like, oh, I'm this guy who's tall, dark, blah, blah. This is what people want.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
Oh. You know, this is what people want. This is what people expect of me. This is what blah, blah. So then I have my identity in those things. But fortunately,
So your identity is based on the identity of your creator.
Yes.
So what is then your purpose?
Purpose, I think, is within a place where one human being shouldn't function by itself. Right? We're not made to function alone. That's you know, a given fact. So I know whatever I have to do it for someone, with someone.
For someone, with someone. That's deep.
So that's one thing. So through that, in knowing that, in my awareness of that, and how I approach life and how I treat people, there I can find my purpose. It's like, if I tend to always do these things for people, then I must probably want to help people in general. But then it doesn't mean I have to be a doctor. You know, doesn't mean I have to be a fireman. Doesn't mean I have to be a teacher. I can be a teacher in different forms.
Yes, very true.
You know, so that's the way I think about that in terms of like purpose. Because I feel like purpose is probably only truly achieved at the end. Because then you can look back and be like,
I've never actually heard it said that way before. Purpose is only truly achieved at the end.
Because it's how do you know you've achieved purpose?
Don't you? I don't know actually.
Yeah, because you have an idea of where you want to go, you know, and then if you're lucky enough, you find that, or you find yourself in that purpose, and you're walking that path. So, in what way can you then identify your purpose? It's kind of like that's why when we're sitting with like older people, 80, 90, you can tell some of them, not all of them, have lived their purpose.
But then what about the fact that people say that you need to know your purpose to live a purpose-driven life, to have clarity as to where you're going?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. But can you really fulfill purpose at 10, at 20, at 30? I don't think so.
But isn't...
You can live, so you're living in your purpose.
Okay.
So at the end, you're looking back and then you can hold it like, this is what people have said I was able to do for them. It's like in your eulogy, you know, the people will come, this person was like this. You can identify that person. This person purpose.
I hear you, but I struggle with looking at it that way, because if you don't understand your purpose early on.
Can you understand your purpose, or can you have a knowing of what your purpose is? I feel like you can have a knowing of it, but can you truly understand it if you don't know the whole combination of what you're put on earth to do? And at what point will you know?
Isn't that where it then goes to, you know, initially you had said about your identity, that your identity comes from your creator. Isn't that where the creator then helps you to discover what your purpose is so you can align?
I don't know if you ever really, I believe like God, everything that needs to be done has already been done. God isn't doing anything. He's already done it, right? So whatever is in you, that seed that's meant to be a forest, because you're not going to know that your seed is meant to be a forest. You just know this is a seed. It's on hard ground right now. It's not growing. Or it's on this. It's not, you know, because your environment definitely does play a role, right? So essentially, you grow in that purpose, and back to that line you said, you walk in that purpose. You may not, there are too many distractions, there are too many things that happen in life, there are too many, if you're hungry for example, are you thinking about purpose? Scarcity creates a different type of animal, you know.
Fair enough.
But someone who really knows their purpose, even in scarcity, they function.
True.
Because there's like, I think there's this research that was done about the people, I can't remember the name of the prison, it was like during the Hitler time, where there were some people who actually survived in those concentration camps.
Okay.
And they were happy.
Okay.
But a high percentage of people, because they were just so concerned about what was happening, or where this, they couldn't live. They died quicker. But other people literally just, okay, this is the situation.
They were focused.
And then they would influence other people around them as well. So even if you were young and you experienced those people, then that person's purpose is revealed to that child.
Isn't that exactly alignment of purpose? And then how do you then tie that to identity? So you then have to align your identity and your purpose.
Yeah, so I feel, that's a good question. I feel like your identity is your seed.
Your identity is your seed.
It's your seed.
Okay.
Your purpose is the process in which you become a forest. So you don't know you're a forest. You could think you're a plant, but a seed is a forest, essentially, depending on your perspective, right?
Okay.
So that alignment of sunlight, water, rain, because you need all this.
I was just thinking that, okay, you've got a seed, you must water the seed.
And that's alignment.
So that is, so the process of, so let's simplify this.
You are really getting into it. Even the way you're saying you have to water, I love it. Yeah,
so that's why I'm like, you know what? Let's simplify this thing. So you have a tomato seed.
Yes.
Yeah. On its own, it's just a tomato seed.
It's just a seed.
It can be rubbish in reality.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
But then the minute you water it, the minute you actually know, put it in the soil, water it, make sure it's under sunlight or photosynthesis, nurture it, it grows into a tomato, and then it multiplies. So the process of doing all those things is
alignment.
Alignment.
That process in itself is the alignment.
So then what is misalignment and misalignment?
Misalignment is simply your seed on hard surface. It could be on tar. You know, nothing's gonna happen. That seed is not like, except maybe the tar gets really tarnished. And then it happens, the seed happens to find some form of sand or soil. That's the only way it's gonna, otherwise it's not gonna grow.
I'm thinking of weed in terms of plants, you know, that grow in the wrong places.
And the thing about weeds, they have their own purpose as well. They serve a purpose.
We're talking about plants, guys.
We're talking, yeah.
Not the other type.
But yes, they do serve their purpose as well. I don't believe like there's anything that's truly useless.
True. Okay, so let's even simplify this some more, because maybe we're being a bit intellectual. It's maybe a bit cerebral.
Fair.
But if you were talking to a group of millennials, and you were, your job was to help them understand the importance of aligning their identity with their purpose, what 3 lessons would you want them to take away with them?
I think it's quite difficult to tell people what to do.
But you can teach or guide.
Even in teaching and guiding, I think like, this is just me personally, right? Because I believe like every individual is an individual and they will have their own purpose, like they will have their own way in which they're going to align. Both of us are not going to align in the same way.
True.
In regards to our purpose, right? So,
true.
I think the first thing would be to find your identity.
How do you go about doing that?
We're privy to, for me now, I'd say a Bible, for example. I'm privy to that. Because I feel like if you don't know who you are, then you're in limbo. Like, you know, you have people with mental health, for example. this is not like making it small or anything, but say I was suicidal at some point in my life, for example. Let's just say that, right? What was the thing I struggled with the most? Identity. There was no purpose. It was kind of like, why am I here? Who would really miss me? What's the importance of, I'm just a speck in the grand scheme of things.
So the first thing is we've got to round up. The time goes by
that
very
identity.
quickly. Find your identity.
Find your identity is the first thing.
First thing.
And give yourself patience. Because you're not going to figure it out quickly. Depending on you. Yeah, patience is like, and you can never have enough patience. Because the minute you think you have,
something else comes up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You thought you could wait an hour? Wait until someone makes you wait 3 hours and 30 minutes. You know?
And then you do, and then
and then you're like, and then you battle with. So first identity, then allow yourself patience. Allow yourself to be able to make mistakes, to learn. And the third thing is just to see what happens.
Find your identity. In simple terms, give yourself a break. Give yourself a chance to make mistakes. Be patient with self. Be kind to self.
100%.
And then number 3,
have faith.
Have
see
faith.
What happens. Because I don't think you can't go wrong with those two things, identity and having patience. Because think about it, from babies, for example, they are the epitome of. Because they're in your arms and then they're crawling, or no, they're sitting first and then they're crawling. They don't care what's happening. But they know at some point.
I'm gonna have to interrupt you. Mitch, this has been. I hope our viewers, I hope you guys have been able to follow, because it's been quite cerebral. But these are the kind of conversations Mitch and I have, and we were talking about aligning your identity with your purpose. I really do hope you've been able to take something away with you. Thank you so much for watching. In a few minutes, John and Helen will be wrapping up the show, so please stay tuned. Thank you.
The insecurity seems to be spread across. I was listening to plenary at the House of Representatives on Thursday, the 31st of March. A member of the House called for the dismissal of the National Security Advisor, Babagana Monguno. He says he's the only service chief that has not been replaced since 2015. Indeed, if all security agencies are accountable to the National Security Advisor, has he not failed? Join me every week on PlusTvAfrica and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Hello and welcome to Tech Talk on Today with John and Helen. My name is Emmanuel Atta. I'm a content manager. I'm here to bring you tidbits of digital marketing that can help you build and maintain a strong online presence for your business. Now, video marketing is the best type of marketing you can do for your business online. People are spending less time reading, so you need to create content in video. So yes, there are other forms of content creation online that can excel your business. Yes, there's copywriting, there's graphic design, there is photography. Yes, those are forms. Those are different types of content that can promote your business online. But the best among all those is videos. You need to create videos for your business. You have to create videos that are professionally done, not just videos that are done by phone. I know that, yes, a lot of business people, particularly small business people, kind of like use their phones to just shoot videos and post them on Instagram, post them on Facebook. Yes, I mean, that can get you somewhere, but the kind of videos that would make your business known, not just within your locality, but internationally, are videos that are planned and shot with a camera by a professional. Those are the kind of videos that people from different parts of the world can see and be like, yes, they want to identify with your business. Now, what kind of video should you be creating? So first of all, you can create entertaining videos. Look, entertainment is taking over the world. So any information you want to pass, it has to be kind of wrapped up in entertainment, and that is kind of what would catch people's attention when they are on social media, maybe on TikTok, maybe on YouTube, maybe on Facebook. Videos are one of the things that make people stop scrolling to try to check what that video is all about. Second kind of video you can create is educative videos. So these kind of videos are videos that kind of like educate your audience about your product or your services, maybe how to use it, what the product is all about, where, to get it from. Those are like educative videos. Just try to teach people about stuff that are maybe might not necessarily be your product or your services, but are related to your product or services. You can also create informative videos. So just generally giving the public information about what you do. It can be personal presentation videos where you just talk to the camera. It could be product review video, service review video, where you just give people general information about what you are doing, the kind of business you do, the kind of services you render. But definitely when a lot of people are posting graphic designs, a lot of people keep posting cool pictures of products, which is good. Right? If you're doing good product photography for your business, it's fine. But video is what is capable of moving the needle when it comes to making sales on the internet as far as this era is concerned, because all social media platforms are currently pushing more video content to the audience than pictures, than graphics, right? So create videos, because videos is one of the things that can make someone stop. A lot of people, you need to see how people scroll social media. People scroll social media with speed, but a video can make someone stop and then just look at their phone and say, oh, this could make sense for me. And from there, a sale could happen. So, that's my tip for today. And my name is Emmanuel Atta, and that's all for today on Tech Talk on Today with John and Ellen. See you same time next week. Thank you.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. On the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
All right, so thank you for being there with us from the beginning of this program up till this point. We hope that we have been able to educate you, especially as we join the rest of the world today to mark World Autism Day. And our guests brought in a lot of information that we all have to have, especially being very, very attentive and observing, you know, with those little children. And she talks about John. She said it's genetic.
Yes, she says it's genetic.
It's genetic. So if you had history of somebody who was there,
it can be genetic.
It's something to worry about and to be very observant. She said, don't give them TV. Keep the bright lights away from them. Touch them a lot so you can achieve connectivity and affection. And she also said, you know, repetitive behavior are the things that we should look out for. And then Pharaoh there, taking us through identity and purpose.
Yes.
And it's been an awesome time.
And John.
And it's time for you to take us through public speaking.
Yes, nugget of public speaking for this week. And I had to come up with this one because a lot of people believe that, oh, it's only extroverts that are able to do well, you know, as public speakers. They have to be that kind of person who loves to
mixes with people
talk
easily
and all
freely.
of that. So my nugget for today is this. No one finds public speaking easy. Introverts don't, extroverts don't. So no one finds public speaking easy. Introverts don't, extroverts don't. So, I mean, it's not easy for anyone to stand in front of an audience, you know, and address them. Like they always say, the fear of public speaking is the beginning of whatever. So, never mind, you're not alone. Everybody finds it difficult to face the public. All you have to do is master the art. Practice, practice,
and
practice.
More practice.
So that would be my nugget for today, Helen.
Okay, and please help me with this. Early days in theater, we're told that when you are facing when you have a live performance,
yes,
and there's a large crowd,
yes,
you are able to deliver if you told yourself, I'm all here by myself and I'm probably talking to one person.
Well, you see, the answer to that is a yes and a no. Because what works for you may not work for me. I've read a lot of books, I've seen a lot of interviews where some people will say, hey, no, that's the wrong approach. Okay?
Be aware.
Just try and connect, and, you know, with your eyes and all of that. So you have to develop, find yourself, discover yourself. What works for you? Some people can't even make eye contact. They tell them to look right above the heads of the audiences. No, I insist that you try to make eye contact. You do the Z sign in the crowd, you know, in the audience. You know, that way, so that everybody gets an idea of being touched with your eyes. So you have to be your authentic self, discover yourself, and that's what works for public speaking.
Hi.
By John Senai.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we're done for today.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And next week we'll be back again with another scintillating episode of this program. Yes. I don't know.
We have enjoyed your company, and we know that you will join us again same time next week when we return with another edition of Today with John and Helen on Plus TV Africa. Good afternoon, or is it good morning? Go out and have a bumper weekend. Thank you for being there.
Bye-bye.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Politicizing our humanity. You see, Nigeria today has become a den of unknown gunmen. And I say that because for every new report you see now, any news, anything, you see unknown gunmen kills 20, unknown gunmen kidnaps 50. So any small thing is unknown gunmen. And the level of insecurity in the country today has risen. You know, so today we no longer ask whether our lives are, and properties are secured. We only ask who is next to be killed or kidnapped. You know, we check and we see, okay, whose family is next? Which family is going to be thrown into mourning? So right now, Nigerians are only waiting, and we're waiting and saying, whose turn is it going to be? The level of insecurity in the country has become extremely worrisome. The lapses created by government, by the inaction of government. You know, government had the opportunity to nip this insecurity in the bud. You know, when it started, you know, it started like play. It wasn't this bad. It wasn't this bad. But now, because of government's inaction, we are caught up. And it seems as if there's nothing that we can do about it again. So now it is even worse. It is worse that we as citizens are not making enough noise about the right things. We are concerned about some other things. So despite the worrisome state of our dear nation, the plague of politicizing any little thing. You know, we are quick to say, now this party they run amo, now this party they do amo, is because of this party. And so right now, we are trivializing the problems and the challenges that we are facing as a nation. You know, so there are talks all over social media claiming that the violence and actions leading to the high level of insecurity, which now threatens our very existence, are sponsored. Members of the ruling and opposition parties have thrown all caution to the wind, and they exchange blames. It is this party, it is that party, rather than just actually recognizing terrorism for what terrorism is and taking actions to stop the incessant killings and kidnappings, which is threatening the very existence of Nigerians. We must stand united or fall divided. We must stand united. Nigeria is at the very brink. We are at the very brink of war. You know, and I don't think we are saying this enough. I think everyone is just looking at, okay, maybe because the thing never touched me, make we just look up, and everyone is just playing with the situation. The situation has become so dire and would worsen if we do not join voices and actions and implore the government to take decisive actions to protect the lives and properties of the people. We must educate and reorientate ourselves. We must advocate for peace and tolerance. Negative and irresponsible tribal comments, you know, it has no other thing to do than to incite violence. So it breeds this intolerance that we have for ourselves, and this tribe will say, now these people, if these people come out, we go get peace and all of those things. And then we wonder why some people are killing another tribe, and why another tribe is killing another tribe. So I feel we must be able to preach peace and preach unity. if at all we want to see the end of this insurrection. I have always said this, and I think this is time to say it again. In terms of, if we're talking about security, I think the time for decentralization is now. The power that the federal government wields as far as security is concerned is too much. And it would seem that even that power now is overwhelming, such that they don't even know what to do with the power again. Assign state governments with the task of security responsibilities. Yes, at federal government level, there are some powers that you cannot just take away. But let the security apparatus in the police, security operatives that you have, let them be responsible to state governments. Let state governments take charge. Let them take charge. A governor of a particular state will not be looking at while his state is burning, and the governor is crying to federal government to come and help. So what then is the duty and what then is the work of the state government? We had mentioned earlier, but I'm just going to chip in again, that religious leaders have a role to play. You find religious leaders being totally irresponsible and reckless with the comments that they make, knowing fully well the power that you wield as a religious leader, knowing fully well the hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people that listen to you and take your word as law. You need to be very careful. You need to be cautious of how you urge people on, because comments that you make in ways incite violence against perhaps other religions, and then you have this religion attacking this religion. Oh, they attacked us first. Oh, they attacked us first. So I think now is the time for our religious leaders to come together and preach peace, and tolerance is very important. So once again, I would say conclusively that I think we need there's never been a time to call for peace and to call for tolerance and to call for unity as now, using our voices, using our platforms to advocate for peace. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's just turning and turning and turning, and Nigerians are just looking at who is the next person to fall victim.
Alopecia is a rare condition among women in Nigeria, and because of this, many people are not well informed of this condition. We spoke to Moshudat Badmos, who shared her journey with us.
I was preparing for service and I went to the salon to wash my hair. I was on dreads then. And when I got to the salon, the hairdresser, she hadn't even like started washing my hair. She was just like separating the dreads, and she saw the bald spots. So just small, like a coin shape around here. So when she said, she was like, Auntie Shefari in Yoruba means, Auntie, did you like scrape your hair? I was like, why would I scrape my hair? She's like, there's a spot here, like a bald shiny spot, and she showed me. And I was like, no, what's this? So that day I was scared. I just quickly packed my hair. I told her not to even wash it again. I went home and I told my mom, like, something happened at the salon, and my mom was like, this is spiritual. You know, like, you know, Nigerian mothers. So we started thinking, did anybody come? Because that was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, hair can't just disappear. It's something that is always like a part of you. It can't just disappear. So what happened? Then I went to camp. The following week. And when I came back, the spot was still there. So that was when it started for me. And I started doing so many things. We took the spiritual route. Then it was like a month or two after. I just went online. And just like I searched in my symptoms and the signs I saw, the bald spots and all that, and I saw alopecia. So I told my mom, like, I saw something like alopecia. I'm like, oh no, she doesn't feel that as it. So I told her I wanted a second opinion, because we've been doing the whole spiritual thing. So like I wanted a medical opinion. So we went to see the doctor and told me it was fungal infection. So I was placed on drugs and it didn't do anything. But my mind kept going back to the alopecia. Where I was 7-2, there was a health center in the compound. I went to see the director then too, and he told me the same thing, that it's a fungal infection. So I still wasn't convinced. I told my dad I want a third opinion. So he took me to his workplace and I saw the doctor they used there. And she was the first person that said, okay, this looks like alopecia. She doesn't even really know much about it, but she was like, she's going to refer me to Lutz Dermatology Clinic. It's at Yaba. So that was when I went there. So when I got there, that was in, I think around probably September or so. And I saw the nurse in charge. They were like, there is no appointment, there's no space available to see the doctor. The next appointment is going to be in 2016 March. So I told the woman, like, March, okay, like, no, I have to see the doctor, because by then I already had like a lot of bald spots. It wasn't just one again, I had about 5 then. So I showed her my hair. Like, she should just see it. Like, she wasn't even so, I felt it was something she probably has seen. She wasn't even so concerned. It's like, sis, there are people with worse conditions than you have that are on the list. I can't do anything. So I begged her, I was in tears, and she was like, okay, she's going to give me December, a space in December. She'll come back in December. Told me to come very early, that the clinic time starts by 8. So I got there 7. I was early. When I got there 7, I met a lot of people already. And when they started giving out numbers, I think the number ended at 25 or so. I think I was like number 29. So they told me, like, I won't be able to see the doctor, that I should come back the next day. So I started crying. Nobody understood why I was crying, and the woman was like, what happened? What? So I told her, like, ma, no, I can't come back in January. Like, I can't come back next year. I have to see the doctor today. So I just opened my scalp, and like I had, like, my hair was like, you know when they say rats chopped someone's hair. So I had a lot of patches and it was really ugly, and everybody was like, oh. So the nurse looked at me and said, so look at people here, people with terrible conditions, there's nothing wrong with you, just go back and you see the doctor when you see the doctor. She wasn't even so concerned, and I just kept on crying. So people begged her and she gave me a number. So when I saw the dermatologist, she was like, you have alopecia, you're not special, you're just one of the few unfortunate ones. So there is no known cause, there is no cure for it. But since you have alopecia areata right now, we're going to place you on the treatment. You're going to take steroid shots for 6 months. So the steroid shots, they give you on the bald spots. So I was happy, like, okay, finally, this is something I can do. So I went home. I went to my mom's sister's place then. So when I got to her place, she was like, oh, check calorie, like we should go see all these herbalists, people that are into herbal treatments and yeah. So we went there. The lady said, okay, she's going to prepare a bowl for me and all that. But first, I have to scrape my hair. So that day, I'd already taken the first steroid shots on my scalp. So I told the woman then that, no, I don't want to do the treatment. I would like to complete the steroid shots first. Then I'll come back after 6 months if it doesn't work. So my mom's sister told my mom, the mom started shouting, like, no, why can't I do both together? It's just we're both looking for solution and all that. So she convinced me to like scrape off my hair. So I scraped it off and I started the herbal treatment too. But after scraping off my hair and I went for the next shot, it got worse. My hair started growing back, but the spot things, it didn't come back. So after the second shot, by the time I would go back for the third shot, my hair was completely gone. I had no hair. So when the guy wanted to give me the shot, the dermatologist that saw me that day, you know, it's like a public health center, so you won't see the same doctor every time. So he didn't understand because normally you're supposed to give shots on the spot. So he called the head dermatologist and she was like, what happened? So I explained to her that I scraped it. Like, you shouldn't have scraped it off. The treatment is for partial hair loss. There is no treatment for total hair loss, so there's nothing you can do. So I was like, what? They were saying me a whole lot of things and I had to leave. And they didn't give me another appointment date. They just told me to leave that they were going to call me. And until today, they never did. So that was it for me. And here we are.
Moshudat Badmus and Jasmine Oguns share the most awkward experiences they've had living with alopecia.
For me, one of the ridiculous things I've heard about alopecia is when people ask that, do you have cancer? Because I feel it should be known that chemotherapy actually causes hair loss.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I did a surgery in 2017 and I was in the hospital and people came, nurses, and assumed that I was a cancer patient just because. To me, it's very ridiculous because you guys are in the line.
They should know better, exactly, because actually, cancer does not lead to hair loss. What leads to hair loss is the chemo treatment. And for survivors, they grow their hair back. Because what chemo does is it kills the cells. And you know, in the process of killing the cells, it kills the hair follicle as well. So at that point, the victim loses his or her hair. But after the chemo phase, once they survive that cancer phase, their hair grow back. So it's a different thing entirely. Alopecia and cancer are not the same. They are two different. That's why sometimes when we do our campaign, we emphasize on the fact that it is not cancer, it is alopecia, no alopecia. So they are two different things. Yeah, one ridiculous thing I've heard was when one spiritualist said, someone took my hair to the ocean. Now my hair is under the water, you know, and I tried to sound sarcastic too because it didn't make any sense to me. I was like, okay, please tell me the person that took my hair to the ocean so that I can beg the person to give me my hair back. Because as it is, it's not useful for the person. And the person is not letting me use my hair. So let's beg the person to let me have my hair back. It's actually funny.
Another ridiculous thing is when you tell people, like you've explained to the person, I have alopecia.
God.
Alopecia is this, alopecia is that. Oh, they're like, oh, man, that's sad.
So why do you cut your hair?
And I'll be like,
we hear that a lot.
Like it is constant. Like you do awareness this year now. We do. September is Alopecia Awareness Month.
Yeah.
We do awareness. You guys, we tell you so much about it. And next year, be like, you started this thing. Why did you cut your hair this year? God.
Another ridiculous thing. In fact, this one has been coming non-stop. You know, during the interview I had with BBC Pidgin last year, I mentioned how my relationship failed, how the wedding introduction got called off 3 days to the wedding introduction by my supposed mother-in-law. and you won't believe the kind of messages that I've been receiving. Random men coming around, asking for my hand in marriage, just like that, from nowhere. You don't know me, you don't know anything about me. And I'll be like, where is this coming from? I said, I saw your interview about your mother-in-law that called off your wedding. I'm like, for crying out loud. The interview was not even about marriage, it was about alopecia. So you're not bothered about the awareness I'm creating, you're bothered about marriage. But I didn't come on air to say I'm looking for a husband. I didn't say I am not dating or I'm not in a relationship. So it sounds ridiculous. Like, it keeps coming, and every time I hear that, I just shake my head like, oh my God, not again.
Long or short hair, all women are beautiful. We need to create more awareness surrounding alopecia and eliminate every form of stigmatization towards those living with alopecia.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Can you clarify for us what the requirements are for the candidate that the APC will present? Will it be a Southern Christian or a Southern Muslim? Join me every week on PlusTvAfrica and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
The Nigerian film industry has continued to gain popularity across the continent and on the global stage. Even with its popularity and growth, it is still to be criticized on many fronts, one of which is that it is a quantity-driven industry as opposed to a quality one. Stakeholders have given certain factors for churning out substandard movies. Some have said budget restrictions, weak plots, repetitive dialogue, and the overwhelming lack of public-private partnership, not leaving out government participation. Since 2010, some positive developments have changed the nature of Nollywood. They include an influx of professional filmmakers, the rise in international festival and cinema tours, international premieres, collaborations with multinational companies, Pan-Africanism and distribution via multiplexes. In this time, a film's release on VCD, DVD began to happen later in its life, effectively disenfranchising Nollywood's traditional mass-market consumer base. The question I am interested in answering are Nollywood's filmmakers becoming more specialized in their art? And was it gentrifying? I use the word metaphorically to explore whether Nollywood increased in grandeur, appeal, and acceptance amongst Nigeria's upper class. Hence, leading to fast rise in features of skit makers, brand influencers, and basically anyone with a little bit of fame. And has this become the domino effect, catapulting skit makers and brand influencers into a whole lot of fame?
Put your account number here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, my dear.
Thank you,
yes,
sir.
Let me send something to you.
Oh, I actually think I remember, sir.
Eh?
Opopo Tomungo.
Yeah!
Yes, sir.
You remember the conference?
Yes, I do.
You will go far.
Yes,
you will go far, my dear.
Well, the Nollywood structure has been of concern to many veterans, and one of them is Saeed Balogun.
I will appeal to the government to give us structure. And the government don't have problem. It is we movie makers. They tend to do riots in the state, carrying placard. It is the National Assembly that should give me a structure. Are they trying to make me powerless? Is it a dictatorship style of ruling? They don't know what to do. The question I ask myself at times is, that honorable that is in charge of culture and code that can give me structure, does he know anything about movies? He's just looking for where to be. He doesn't even know. It is one, we have a lot of us that can bring the revolution. About 5 or 6 of us in the assemblies, we can scream, we tell them, God damn you, you know what I'm suffering, you know what I'm going through now, so speak my language. But if you tend to put one honorable man there who was elected, who was and probably mechanical engineer or an economist or something, who doesn't even know my pain, we can't get it right. It is the structure. After the structure, yeah, the investors can now smile, because if you invest in me, put money on my table, I mean, there, you want me to put food on my table, put in billions and I'll give you back millions or thousands. Will you come back some other time? No, 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 no. When the government gets it right, the investors, please, if they are coming, I always tell them, please invest in me in what I can pay back. I am the president of the Golden Movie Ambassadors of Nigeria. We believe in restructuring, repositioning, and getting everything right. An ambassador means you can represent your country everywhere. That is where professionalism comes in. A lot of people are just coming in from everywhere. We have more than 50 associations, 31 performing. What we're looking for, why can't we be one? A professionalism can come in when you have a strong structure that can guide it.
New talents are essential for growth and encourage new faces into the industry, but proper training is vital for theatre and, of course, film.
Training is critical, but we need to create a platform that gives everybody the opportunity to be trained, and then also we need to look at also some means of internship on productions, take people on and guide them, and show them how to do what you do. If we look at theatre itself, it's a massive training ground for talents that will end up even on screen. I think training is important, but then a lot of people learn on the job, which is good. But I think where we would get it right is if production houses, also attempt to train, give basic training to people that are not necessarily trained, that are venturing into the industry. You have actors, there are people that are good, they are not trained actors, but on their own, like you said, skit makers, they didn't go to anywhere, but their skits are so evolved that they have so many people looking forward to see what next they are going to do, and then you see they can hone their skills and use them, but then again, it is a factor of the industry having that capacity to train, having the infrastructure to train. A lot of these people would want to, if the opportunity is there, gain more knowledge on how to do film, how to be better actors or producers or things like that, but then we need to have that platform that gives them that opportunity. That's one. And two, production companies also should look at ways of, even at times some training do not necessarily have to be formal. They could be informal through internships and things like that. And then skit makers also, at times when they've made so much fame, they are popular, they feel they have arrived. But no, there are certain basics you still need to learn. At times you should learn also to try and hone your skills so you can be better. That you are popular now does not mean you cannot do better things. Milking that popularity that you have gained now through the skits you do, which we notice a lot of people don't do. A lot of directors will just allow you to do your thing. I've heard of a set where the director just say, okay, read the line, or yeah, do your thing, but at times you should be able to tell somebody, this is what I want you to do, this is the way I want it to be. That helps with the quality. The next thing I'll look at is casting. People cast for the wrong reason. It is good to cast with the mind that this person is going to draw eyeballs or is popular, hopefully the person will help with publicity. It is good. But when you look at certain characters and you know that you need somebody to deliver top-notch performance, and then that character is unique in that way. It's not something you can just cast anybody because of the numbers. And you overlook that fact and you just put someone that cannot deliver on the character because you think the person has got numbers. Then that drags the quality of the production.
It is not acceptable for popular faces to just go on and start filming without necessary kinds of training. For us in Actors Guild of Nigeria, it's something we totally abhor and we condemn. So you find out that sometimes before you catch them, they are finished making the film. So we are gradually working with the censors board in Nigeria to see that some of these things are put to a stop. You must have a certain level of qualification. Even if you have graduated from school and you have not done this business before, you still need some kind of elementary approach where you will be given some ideas, instructions on what to do before joining the Nollywood industry. It's not all about I can act, I cannot act. Sometimes you see these popular people, when they come to set to act, they don't know terminologies of the industry. When you tell somebody who is acting and you say the director says cut, he doesn't know or she doesn't know what cut means, you understand? All of these things are the rudiments of the industry that they needed to go through. But because we are in a country where everything goes, people don't seem to follow rules and regulations, but we are gradually closing in on them.
With the advent of internet, social media, and instant entertainment platforms, many reality TV stars and skit makers have risen to fame. In this part of the world, becoming a top celebrity is either by hard work, persistence, or through reality shows. As we know that the road to fame is a tough one around here, a few of our top Nigerian celebrities credit their prominence to reality shows which have given them the opportunity. One of them is Seyi Awolowo, who didn't see it as a challenge for the Nollywood to cast popular faces in movies, as long as the directors have a sense of direction and vision they hope to achieve in the movie.
Well, I don't see why not. Everybody is entitled to be able to do what it is that they want to do. Only thing is when it becomes constant and if there's a regulatory body involved, if it's a constant thing where they've literally become constant film and they need to be registered, okay, then they can go and do that. But I believe that everybody should have, I don't see any reason why I will not put who I want to put in my own production when I want to put them in my production. I mean, I see that person to fit the role accordingly, to fit the character, Bible properly. So why not I'll bring the person on board? So I don't see anything wrong with it, as such. It just depends on who's creating movie and whose movie it is. Sometimes you want a particular kind of thing, but you're not willing to give. Give what you take or take what you give, how to speak. If you're going to be professional to the T. Follow your this thing and not along the line. I want to start using or there's a sentiment of now help us to make it known. If you start a kind of particular kind of way, go all the way down to the end. Professionalism in the industry, I can't say varies from companies to companies or from different organizations to organizations, how professional they are, or their motto, or their modus operandum of how they want to handle things. So, that's the thing. For me now, I can just have a laid back working environment where I want everybody wearing shorts and t-shirt and being more laid back as to probably just someone that wants everybody in a tie. And so it just depends on, the modus operandi of that particular organization that is handling the production of whatever movie or, that is handling that particular production for the time being while you are working, if you get what I'm saying.
There are regulatory bodies, but do they really carry out their duties? How do they manage professionalism in the Nollywood industry?
For us, we have a constitution that we're working with, but we're trying to come up with the memorandum of understanding in the industry, whereby even if you are involved in any show or something where you have been elected as maybe highest winner and all of that, you would need to still pass through 1 or 2 trainings and then belong to a group, either as a producer or as an actor, before you are practicing in the industry. Yeah, professionalism, without being political here, every industry needs professionalism. For us in Nollywood, we are grappling with that because the Nollywood industry is the industry that started without entry point and without exit point. and it continued to grow without anybody checking it. Now it has grown beyond bounds that wherever you are coming with discipline, it becomes like it's too difficult to instill discipline among practitioners because there were no laid down rules from beginning. There were no laid down rules from beginning. There were a lot of illiterates. There were a lot of people who didn't go to school. There were a lot of people who didn't see the four walls of any school, but because they are talented, they have made it big and they are now in the industry. So it's a Herculean task at this point. So we're calling on people who have been here before in the industry to so come back and say, look, this is getting out of hand. We have to come back to the basis. Let's see where we structure. Every actor, every producer, every director, you must belong to where your people are. Let us begin to see places. We need professionalism so I don't just do things out of proportion.
The Nollywood industry is a growing work in progress, and the Nigerian Film Censors Board needs to enforce the parameters that positively influence the creative processes from writing a screen to post-production. Is this body efficiently empowered to ensure professionalism in Nollywood? Well, hope we find answers soon.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. Relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on PlusTvAfrica.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.